Wednesday night, and welcome to another Undressed podcast. Or a podcast that's undressed. Who cares? Hello, I'm Jeremy Taylor, and welcome to Wednesday Night Undressed, the podcast that reaches into the wobbly places other podcasts dare and venture. Join our panel. Join our panel for a thrilling threnody of bombastic debate, where the answers are always clear, simple, and straightforward, insofar as they can be determined and demonstrated to be without any epistemological problems. It's a big word. Yes. On our team tonight, we have Dr. Fernando. Hello. Dr. Josh.
Good evening.
Dr. Kathleen.
How'd you like that voice?
I liked it. It was pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Orlando.
Doctor. Doctor.
Dr. Ivanov. Doctor.
Doctor.
Dr. Poses.
Here comes Coach.
Here comes Coach. Which coach?
Coach Tyler.
Coach
Put me in,
Tyler.
Coach.
Well, good
I'm ready to play.
God. What are
Today.
you
Knees.
wearing?
Shorts.
You horrible child.
He's wearing jams.
Yeah.
You could have at least got dressed.
Lewis.
This is the undressed podcast. Exactly. I move we all come in our pajamas.
Yes. Well, never mind. Okay, well, so,
He's wearing a Make KU hat again. Great again hat.
is he?
Make
Yeah.
KU great again. Big
Yes,
12,
well,
here we come.
Unlike Dr. Josh, who's wearing a MAGA hat.
It is not
Okay,
a MAGA
first
Put your
question.
MAGA hat
First
on.
question. We got this. This came from headquarters. You have access to a time machine. You can go back with the knowledge you have now and relive your life from any point since 18. For Coach, that's a year. Would you, and when would it be? Would you, and when would it be? It doesn't matter what your age is. What would you do differently?
hat. Oh my God.
If anything, maybe you wouldn't do anything at all. Maybe you would, or maybe you would have married that girl. Or not. Maybe you wouldn't marry that girl. Maybe you would have done something else. For me, I'd have worked at school, gone on to become a lawyer, and made millions
As an asshole.
I would have thought that
Instead of making how much?
0 and still being an asshole.
Boston Legal would have been my favorite TV show. That's what I would have liked to have been. In England, we have what are called barristers, who are only
Those are
able
the guys
to
that serve
plead
you the drinks, right?
yeah, that's right. They make coffee.
I get an Americano.
That's what I would have liked to have been.
Big tips.
Yes. So why don't we start with just Josh?
So I have lots of interesting, sarcastic things I would do with this question. The reality is, I wouldn't go back, but if I, in the fun of this, I would go back and I would join the military. I believe I'm starting to have this, I guess, rigid thought process of service and giving back, and everybody doing. I think our youth are a little soft, and I think that doing service, like a 2-year type of deal, would be a good thing. So I'd go back and probably try to be a SEAL. That's
Can
what
I ask
do.
a question?
I know, right? Yep.
Yeah, sorry. What? Stop it. What about a national service? And by that I do not mean military service. What about if there was there's another SEAL. If there was a national service which was rather like, say, building roads or bridges or running a lifeboat or
Yes.
things like that.
I think an application process for all of it and selection of all of the things. So military or giving some type of service back like that, working on roads or whatever, I think would be any type of thing that shows hard work and effort and giving a shit about other people. And not just yourself.
Didn't there used to be something that the Americans did, something Corps?
There's still Peace Corps and AmeriCorps.
AmeriCorps, yeah.
AmeriCorps, yeah. Well, I think there should be
National
something
Corps
like that.
of Engineers.
Yeah, where you do 2 years, and it's not military, but
It's service.
yeah, and you don't get to choose. You're doing it.
It's like a lottery.
No.
So you go to
do
the
it.
roads and I go to the SEALs.
You go do what? Sorry, it just has to happen. No, what I mean is, it's 2 years. You're going to do it. Mm-hmm. You can go to university if you want. You're still going to do your national service.
Now, can my parents that are rich donate a bunch of money and cheat on my test scores, and I can pretend that I'm a good?
Absolutely.
And I
Yes.
got like a
Absolutely.
bowling scholarship.
Yeah.
And get out of it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Curling is actually a better scholarship.
I got a question for you, Josh. So, like, for me, the older I get, the more cynical I get about, like, institutions in general. And I generally am getting closer and closer to just burn all these fuckers down. So,
I haven't noticed.
do you think that if you had the knowledge that you have right now and went back, let's just say to your early 20s, late teens, early 20s, that you could sort of put, first of all, do you find yourself becoming more cynical? And if you do you think you could put that to the side to join a group like that?
You know, the reality is I'm becoming less cynical. I was
Really?
pretty cynical in my 30s to late 30s about things. As I get older, I believe I've become more compassionate, less cynical, and more thoughtful on that idea of service.
Right.
And not cynical about it, because there was a time in my life before I got cynical and before I started bucking stuff when I always wanted to be a Marine or a SEAL or something like that, and then I got sidetracked somewhere.
Right.
I mean, we could go down there and I could break it down, but I won't. But I get less cynical as I get older and more. I try to stay in hope-based things. I mean, obviously the world's a shithole, right? I mean, like, I get it. Like, it's terrible
Not
at
just shithole
times.
countries. I got to ask because of the MAGA hat.
It's a gray hat.
It's a little sad that you couldn't afford a proper one. But
I know, right?
Actually, no, that
Kathleen.
is a high quality hat.
This is a high quality hat,
Yeah.
man.
Kathleen, if you had access to a time machine,
Well, I would be a lot more specific. I would probably go back and rethink my early course of events. Mostly, I mean, I probably married the same guy because I love the kids I got out of it. I didn't want any different ones. But I would say no when it was announced to me that he'd accepted a job elsewhere and I was going to have to leave my career. Boom. Because he was going to be making so much more money than me. You know? I'd have said, screw that. So, huge mistake. And that's one thing I've always regretted. So, I'd fix that.
Coach. So you've been over 18 for 6 months now. Is there anything you would change?
Minimum.
No, I have the uncanny ability to leave the past in the past. I mean, anything that I would redo is probably something that just made me look stupid, which happens on a daily basis. So can't fix that every day, unfortunately.
Okay. I feel the same way, but we're playing a game
I
here.
know. And I looked at this question all day, and this was the only one that I was.
Boy, did you have nothing else to do all day?
Yes.
Don't you have a job, millennial?
No wonder he doesn't want to go back and do anything, because he'd actually have to do something as opposed to sit around.
I do have 2 jobs. No. Yeah, I guess I would say I would focus more on school, not necessarily the school portion, but helping me get through school, scholarships, everything like that. I always told myself when I was graduating that, no, I'm not smart enough for this scholarship. I can't do this scholarship. But in reality, I didn't try. And if I would have went back and tried, I think I actually could have gotten money to help me go through school. But
Count even off. And you do need a microphone. Even you need a microphone.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably, in looking back, obviously there's a lot of little things you can change, but really, I've seen enough time-traveling documentaries to know that any little thing you do, any small deviation from your path will result in massive, dangerous changes. Like I wouldn't travel back and kill young Hitler, because everybody says they're gonna do that, right? Because what's gonna happen is probably my parents are not even gonna meet. I'm looking back at how they met and how many variables had to come together. Without World War II, my mom wouldn't have moved to the city where she met my father. I wouldn't exist. So I'm killing Hitler. I'm killing myself too. That sucks. What I would do probably.
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah. If I travel back, I would probably spend more time with my kids when they were growing up, because they're freaking adults now, and I realize now how valuable that time is when they're children, and you have that connection, parent-child connection that will never be solid again like it was. But mostly I would travel about 4.5 months ago if I had a chance, and not go to see ABBA really go again.
Very nice. Yes.
But if you did that, you might not be sitting here right now.
Which would be wonderful.
Dr.
played.
Fernando, our technical advisor, is actually joining the team today, and of course, time travel is something that he's able to comment on.
He talks.
Yes, he does. Yes.
What?
Time travel, being our technical advisor, I'm very interested to know what Dr. Fernando has to say.
I don't know. Gosh, like so many possibilities. So I think it would be fun, like to start with this machine. I would like go back in time and in a place that we stay to be super cheap, like I don't know, South Dakota, North Dakota, and bring all the creations that was created by Apple and release like a year before, and like the company will be found, it will be like a banana. Something like that.
Right.
You're not gonna have issues of copyright with Apple Records. Just to see how disruptive that would be with the Silicon Valley, and maybe distribute like see if you can get like snob enough how the people would, how this would be developed in South Dakota or North Dakota or whatever that place is. Like, I don't know why there is two states there. Anyways, maybe both. Maybe I create like
Right on the border.
I don't know, or find a way to maybe don't let Amazon be giant as it is right now. Something very disruptive for good or to reduce the.
This is why we don't talk to him too much. It's better drinking his beer.
Maybe Tesla, maybe bring like electric energy like 30 years before, and or maybe find a way to disrupt oil industries, or I don't know, bigotry some way. I don't know, perhaps. Find a way
So
to
putting
cool-
yourself in the way of things
Yeah.
a little bit.
He'd probably go back and destroy the rainforest 100 years before they were destroyed.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Dr. Orlando.
So I have, quite honestly, in looking at this question, considered every possibility that you guys have brought up, including just going back, maybe not 4 months, maybe just a week.
That you didn't consider not getting pregnant.
Exactly. But I am terrified that because I firmly believe in Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong, and whatever I tried to fix by going back in the past would just get more broken.
Just like Homer Simpson.
Exactly.
Those are some of the best.
There's no bigger fear than trying to somehow unscramble the scrambled eggs that are my life. So I gotta say, in all honesty, with the possible exception of not being so old and crickety, there's no crickety. You didn't hear it when I got up the last time, 70% of my bones cracked. Yeah, exactly. Outside of that, there's nothing that I would want to go back for, because as much of an asshole as I am now, if I had
You're probably a huge
That'd
asshole
be
in your 20s.
unbearable. Holy shit, you guys would kick me off my own podcast.
That's right. I think living in it's an important discussion in the sense of the idea of living in regret, or
Yeah.
that idea, and I think it's important to try not to live that way, because you can't. There's no way to go back.
Right.
There's truly no way to go back. So to
Well-
sit and wish you would have done things differently doesn't serve you any present work.
Right. Well, I'm a stress puppy. I mean, I do that as a sort of course of natural life, but ultimately, yeah, it's just a bad idea.
Yep.
Well, I think that you can regret and doing turning left, as Captain Kirk once said. As many times when I've turned left when I should have turned right. And yes,
Captain Cook?
But you
Captain
don't
Kirk.
know if what would have happened if you turned right. You could have hit something and blown up. You just can't just live that way.
easy to say.
Sure is easy to say.
Is Trump becoming Voldemort? Are we giving him too much power? Commentary in the media regarding the recent and horrible attack on Muslims in New Zealand has blamed Trump either directly or indirectly. Is this short-sighted? Kathleen.
Can you imagine Trump with a wand? Okay, and I'm not talking dirty here, but what the first, if he was actually able to use a wand and create magic, the whole world would have disappeared by now. He would have messed up so many things. We'd all be insect-like or something.
Just a second. Count Ivanov has not been given his drinkies yet. And we can't do a podcast unless Count Ivanov has his drinkies. And what is it that you're going to have? Are you going to have a tall Ivanov, or are you having a gin and tonic tonight?
I'll have a double tall gin and tonic, I think.
A double
Or just-
tall gin and tonic.
Or just 50 gin with 50 gin.
What's an Ivanov?
You don't know what Ivanov is?
No, it's a very
I
special.
created it. It's rum with ginger ale and a little bit of mint if they have it. But yeah, they started calling it single tall Ivanov. So
Wow.
that's
I'm really impressed.
I should say,
it's pretty
that's
good.
disgusting.
It's
I
no,
should
it's
say
good.
they never have mint here.
They never. But you know what? I used to bring mint myself and put a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you can in the summer when it's growing in one's garden. Carry on, Kathleen. You
I-
were talking
I
about his
think-
little wand.
Yeah. No, you can't compare Trump with Voldemort. Voldemort is evil and horrible, and so is Trump. But Voldemort is capable. He's
You mean he knows what he's doing?
intelligent.
Yeah.
He is able to accomplish his evil plans. He doesn't get stuck on having to
Voldemort-
call a national emergency to get a wall funded.
Voldemort couldn't take over a school.
It's,
This is true. You have a point.
But you would
have a
never
point.
see Voldemort dead wearing a red hat.
You'd never see him dead.
A little
Four-eyed
bitty
boy.
baby boy.
Just a baby boy. You can't kill a baby. Come on.
Single tall gin and tonic, yes. No, I've already had my margarita. Thank you so much. And steak fry. I'm sorry about this, Mr. Engineer. We're just head office and everything. So we're just stopping now.
yeah.
If you're driving in your car listening to this podcast, I'm sorry about that. We're
Don't
having.
be sipping on gin and
Don't be
juice.
sitting on gin and tonics, or even gin and tonics. Eric, the producer, is at the other end of the room.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
He's being highly critical.
So
It's the hat.
So the question is about Donald Trump, whether he has any kind of responsibility, personal responsibility, for the attack in New Zealand and in general for the rising wave of white supremacy crimes committed across the globe. And all the vitriol online and all that stuff. Well, of course he does. He's not the root of it, but he has embodied this. This is a guy with enormous amount of executive power, and he's been blowing that dog whistle for years now. And now we're surprised that the hounds of hell can hear the dog whistle. It's become a bullhorn. He's afraid. Or not afraid, he refuses to even call this act an act of terrorism. He refuses to acknowledge the existence of white supremacy as a problem in the world. We are just, the man has lowered the bar of the presidency so low that it's currently you have to dig into the ground to find it. It's underneath the Earth's mantle. It's maybe where the magma is. I don't know. But the guy, have not been used to this kind of moral decay at the highest altitude. Even with W, the man had a little bit of a moral campus where he actually, after 9/11, referred to Muslims in America as our brothers and true Americans, and not to confuse them with the terrorists. So, for the first time ever, we deal with a person who suffers from narcissistic disorder. Clearly, there's pathology there, who has completely demagnetized moral compass, who is suffering for cognitive decay, who has used the vocabulary of hate throughout his presidency, and so on and so on and so on. Yes, Louis.
Yeah, the problem is, though, like, those are two completely separate messages. Either he's suffering from cognitive decay and has a narcissistic complex, and as a result can't be responsible for his behavior and the effects of his behavior, or he's a genius and he's put all this stuff together.
No, it doesn't have to be one or the other.
No, you can use responsible in a different way.
Absolutely not. You can suffer from cognitive decay and be a monster regardless and still be responsible for your actions. He has both situated. He's Joffrey Donald Trump. Don't you see it? I mean, we have a Caligula in charge at the helm, and we have to deal with it
but
somehow.
That's a
Go and
product
vote.
of the system. It's not. It's not like he built the.
We had this system, but we are now. The entire world is in danger. You know, we had a system that was clearly flawed. We had these issues before Donald Trump. Now we have a madman, an insane Joffrey guy at the helm with his finger on the nuclear button. We have his insane propaganda minister, Kellyanne Conway. Her husband is scared and he's telling us that his condition is deteriorating. You know what that means? She's coming. We don't have to be geniuses to figure that out. She's coming home to him and saying, "Hey, I can't say it in public, but man, he's losing it. He's getting worse." You know, the entire world is in grave danger, and we have to acknowledge it. We have to go and vote. We have to get rid of these guys.
Oh no! That's I don't mean to imply that we don't need to get rid of him. I'm in exactly the opposite side. What I'm afraid of is that he's becoming this boogeyman, where all of our problems get blamed on the fact that he, who is from my perspective, is a symptom of this system that has been flawed from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And he, hopefully, and I say this, I've said this from the beginning, hopefully he is the high point of the calamity that we're going to face in the system.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
There's also the point of view that if you blame everything, credit him with making things worse like that, it empowers him.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the worry.
He's puppeteered when it comes to legislation. You know, his biggest accomplishment is giving trillions of dollars tax break to the richest of the rich people in this country and to himself. Is this really an accomplishment? But he
could have done that without the Republican Party.
But see,
this
accomplishment
by himself.
But this accomplishment is not his. It's what the Republican Party always wanted. And what is kind of accomplishment is this when you have the House, the executive branch, the legislative branch, and everything. You know, it's not, and the Senate. There's no accomplishment. They're working in cahoots. But because he was behind this, it has turned the Republican Party in this obsequious herd of sheep and lackeys, spineless, shapeless mass of jelly that is doing whatever he says. On top of it, he's got this vast propaganda machine that is empowered by
You've seen he's taken over the RNC, right?
Yeah. He's taken over everything.
Sycophants, that's another good word.
And the scariest thing is also that the legislative branch is completely infiltrated by his nominees.
No,
And
no. It's not that his nominees have infiltrated. His nominees were there before he was there. He was put in power.
oh yeah, the Federalist Society picks them, but he is pushing them forward at a record pace. They're
But
being
he can't do it
Yes.
by himself.
Well,
That's-
I know.
Yeah.
That is very scary, and those guys are baked in for generations. Trump will long be gone, but Trumpism will continue to function for decades. We might not even be alive when Trumpism continues its momentum. You know.
I mean, look at the position that cows have nowadays. In the last week or so, cows seem to have taken on a huge relevance in our political system. Josh.
They're being sued.
I'm gonna go. This is fucking depressing. I agree with. I think he's a symptom.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I agree that he can't be both. He can't be sick and narcissistic and have a brain disease and to be smart and make these those both cannot be true in that sense. So it's either or in there. I don't know which it is, but you can't have both. And then what I blaming him is then an easy way of when it's gone to sweep all of the issues underneath the rug again. So when he's gone, we could say, oh, it was Trump, so everything's fine again. No Muslims are going to get shot. That white people are friendly.
Oh, yeah.
All of those things. You know, it's going to be A-okay because it was Trump's fault, not anybody else's. And so then he's to blame. And when it's the reality is humans
Can be
have
shitty.
this sick thing about them where they can really have hate.
Yeah.
And the hate doesn't start when they're born. The hate obviously is taught to them. But they have this ability to hate what is not like them. And when they don't believe like them in the God and then you have somebody that on an other end of religion that's 800 years older than or younger than that one, and it has different beliefs and they don't like certain religions, then it becomes a religious war, which is what the white supremacists want anyway. So
Yeah, this guy was going to shoot those people, Trump or no Trump, right?
Correct.
We agree on this. He was full of hate before that. I feel like Trump is more of a catalyst.
I would agree with
this
that
entire
easily,
reaction is...
he's a fuel to the flame.
But the flame's
Maybe
no doubt for a
maybe
while.
dynamite,
Yeah.
maybe even a nuclear bomb.
Dr. Fernando.
Well, mass shooting. I mean, it's a thing it's happening. It's very depressing that it's countless. Like if I ask you, okay, there was also mass shooting in Brazil. Brazil, the place that you can't buy rifles. I mean, maybe on a black market, but they're based to the when they got the guys to Columbine.
Yeah.
That's how many years ago was Columbine? Blame is it's everywhere, and there is a reflect worldwide nowadays. We have people with issues that try to explode the rage somehow anywhere, and the news just make more abrupt and worse. That things get like a little escalated and pop in place that you never heard before. Like New Zealand, or it's just awful.
We just came back from New Zealand actually, and it's really weird. In some ways, it's like kicking a dog, New Zealand, because New Zealand doesn't do violence, and
Right.
yet when you're there and you start talking to the locals, oh yes, they have particularly heavy-duty problems with biker gangs.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. They have a lot of shootings.
They do.
They
have rough neighborhoods.
We think it's New Zealand, it's lovely, and it is. At first you think it's lovely, and the weather's super, and all that, and
Right.
so you keep looking for hobbits and so on. But the reality is they have their problems. And it is fair to say this guy moved across from Australia specifically,
Right.
bought the weapons
We
legally.
could make the argument that every place has some shitty neighborhoods
Oh, yeah.
and violence in it. It's just we're so used to it here in this country of hearing violence every day. So when something like that happens on somewhere else on a bigger scale like that, we're shocked. But like Fernando said, it happens in Brazil. There's mass killings in Europe, and there's mass killings obviously in Africa every fucking day.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, Australia
Coach.
had a big one too.
Yep. To take kind of what everyone else said, I do agree that with blaming Trump, it's sort of a scapegoat or a catalyst, as Evo said. This shit sadly happens everywhere around the world, and it doesn't stem from one person. And in a way, we're almost glorifying it almost every time it happens. It's important to bring attention to it, but I would just prefer, no names, it's very hard to put into words, but especially when you take a white terrorist and they show these baby pictures of him, like, oh, what could we have done different for him? How did we as a system fail him? Like, no, it's not like that, because every other single minority person of color, they just get thrown away. And it's like, how fucked up is this culture? Because this is happening. It doesn't work that way. Hate breeds in every culture, every race, every minority, and it's not a one person problem. So,
well, like Josh said, people that are different than us, no matter what tribe you belong to, it's so easy to radicalize human beings together behind a flag of a certain tribe and pit them against the other tribe. Also, it's kind of frightening how effective those hate factories are on the internet. But that's a topic that maybe we need to discuss in another podcast, because it's an entire universe. It's a dimension that didn't exist until recently. People get radicalized in days on those sites, and that maybe we need to discuss some other time.
I've often talked with Professor Evo about sports. It's his great love, and all his various female friends in sporting world. Last week we were talking about men who had decided that they wanted to be females, and whether or not it's fair for them to be competing in female races. So what about a guy who plays a sport as a guy? The only problem is that he is 7'6" tall. 7'6" tall. His name is Taco Fall. And is he too tall for basketball?
Taco Fall. Hey, it's like an old school rap. Taco Fall. Is he too tall for basketball?
Two questions. I specifically want Evo to wait a minute so we can get some. So then he'll come in and explain. The two questions are: is his height unfair on all the other players? And the second question is: will he get picked as a professional? Since to date, he does not doesn't throw 3-pointers. Let's start with Coach.
I wanted to start with the first question.
Well, it doesn't matter which one you do.
Yeah, but let me do my thing, Jamie. I feel like biology isn't cheating in a way, So he's born that way. He grows up that way. He's 7'6". If he wants to play ball, let him play ball. Biology, it's not his fault, and it shouldn't be considered unfair.
Everybody else could just dribble right through between his legs.
Yeah, exactly. There's ways to get around. Just because he's 7'6" doesn't mean you can't exploit a different way to get around him. It just means he's good at one thing,
Yeah.
So don't go up against him on that one thing or whatnot.
He would be a good snowboarder.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
7'6"?
No, he will not. No,
Hang on. I'm sorry, Kathleen. You watch a lot of basketball. I know you're heavily into it. What do you think?
Well, it's not unfair for him to play, no. And I think if he can manage to sink basketballs from 10 feet away regularly or 5 feet away regularly, then he'll get picked because he's going to be able to do it.
And I mean, I've seen the guy. He just needs to put on some meat. He's really lanky.
Yeah.
I don't think his body mass is NBA enough. I think,
but if,
obviously, his height. Yeah.
If basketball starts having problems because there's a few really tall guys, they should raise the damn basket. Everybody knows that. They know it.
Evo.
No, it's very interesting with height and basketball. At some point, it actually becomes a handicap. There's just like with
Not if
everything.
the basket is 25 feet off the ground.
No. The height.
I'm serious.
Your height. If you're too tall, it can work against you in basketball.
Because he can't find shoes big enough.
No, it's
Bumps his head
actually
on the rim.
it's actually you lose a lot of speed, you lose dexterity, and people just blow by you. There's been a lot of 7'6" basketball players. Yao Ming was a good 7'6" player. He had a mid-range jump shot.
Oh, Chinese lad.
Yeah, Chinese lad. He had about 8 years he played. That's a long career for somebody his size. Manute Bol was 7'6". He's the only player in history who has more blocks than points.
Did you ever see his 3 shot?
Oh yeah, it was bizarre. It was a biomechanical wonder, but you know he.
Biomechanical wonder.
Yes, that's a great
Good
name for a
name.
rock band.
New band.
But you know, there's been the tallest basketball player ever was Suleiman Ali. He was from Libya. He was 8 feet tall. 8 feet tall. Now, with a lot of these players, they have a tumor that's pushing against.
Not a tumor.
It's pushing against their pituitary gland, right in the brain by the pituitary gland. So, this is the gland that produces the growth hormone, and when it pushes against it, it's usually a benign tumor that doesn't grow, but it's positioned right there, and it constantly pushes the gland to release more HGH, and you continue to grow and grow and grow until eventually you die if it's not removed.
That's giantism.
Yeah, giantism, exactly. That's it. Suleiman Ali had the surgery to remove the tumor from his pituitary gland. So, you know, he still passed away relatively young, but giants don't live long. It's also your heart.
Yes,
you
but
know,
what
has
about
to-
basketball?
And so, with the going back to the basketball issue, those guys, like this guy plays for University of Taco Fall, plays for University of Central Florida.
I bet his parents
He
got him in on a scholarship. He wasn't that
he's,
good.
he's from
At the age
Senegal.
of 2.
How much money do we have?
There you go. Oil, obviously.
He's from Senegal, and he followed another guy, Diamadou.
Damastiki.
He was also 7'6", and he entered the NBA draft a couple of years ago and couldn't make it. They didn't. He played a couple of games with the Golden State Warriors farm team in the development league and couldn't make it. He's currently playing in the developmental league and nobody wants him. This guy, Taco Fall, averages 10, 11 points a game, 3 or 4 blocks. He's not that great. Speed is very important
but
in
I'm talking
basketball.
about changing the fundamental nature of basketball to quit favoring the people who have a few inches over others. If you want to make it about the athleticism, then get the basket out of reach of everybody and make it whoever can get the ball up that high and into the basket. No dunks, no nothing.
Taco Fall, when he extends his hand, he can dunk without jumping. He's that tall. He has over 10 feet.
I
reach.
understand that. Get the
but
basket out of there.
No,
Why
it's
don't we lower the basket to 5 foot?
No,
That is
See what
another
happens,
possibility.
and
Yeah.
you know.
no need to
And
to
Got
put
a
it
better
higher.
idea. We can put the basket in the ground. We can make it about 4 inches round.
You could use clubs.
Use a little white ball
Use a little white ball.
and
Yeah.
call it a
There was,
sport or an activity.
No. Listen, there's a
Now then, children, come along.
there's a better example. There was a team. There was a team when I was growing up,
very passionate
in the
about this.
70s and 80s, when I was a teenager. There was a team that was a juggernaut in Europe and was winning everything. And there was a women's basketball team. They were called TTT Riga, Triple T Riga. And yeah,
it.
it's TTT Riga, not what you're thinking. But they were from the Soviet Union back then. Now what's Latvia? But they had a player. Her name was Uliana Simyonova. I've seen her live a couple of times, and she was 7'1". Now, taking you back to the 70s, women's basketball, there was barely somebody over 6 feet tall. And she was 7'1". There was nobody that could beat that team. They would just give her the ball and she would just put it in the basket, just like in One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest, you know. And so they won everything. She's currently in the Hall of Fame.
For
but
being
that
tall.
that was an unfair advantage, and
Unfair?
very unfair
Biology.
advantage because
It's not unfair.
well, nobody had a player like this, and it was just there was not speed that can go around. They couldn't do anything back then against her.
Who would want to go see a game like that? Where there's no chance. You just hand the ball to one person, she puts it through the
We were
the
going to watch
basket.
it just for the heck of watching a freak of nature. It was like watching circus. It was kind of sad, and I felt horrible for her. And people were booing her and were mean to her. And I could clearly see that she had maybe that gigantism, that pituitary gland issue, you know. And because you see the mandibula, the jawbone is a little more pronounced in people with this condition, and you know, and you also could sense that she's like very.
You know,
her
I'm
life
sorry.
is tough.
I got. Life is fucking unfair,
Yeah.
and she got to play basketball.
True.
Something that she loved to do. Like, why is that a bad thing? Like, why do we say, oh, we feel bad
You
for
know
her
she loved
because
to do it. She
Well,
was
she
in there
did it.
because she was tall.
It
because
was
would make
nice that
money.
she had something to do and accomplish, you know, and
something to
that's something to imagine if there was no basketball. Imagine if there was no basketball, her life would suck.
Dr. Orlando,
she could pick fruit.
your turn.
I don't know that I got anything to add here. Like we literally go from like biology is fair to this is patently unfair. I don't know.
I mean, if I was born a little person, I mean, I could really say like basketball's unfair,
You know, like,
right?
you can't play baseball because your strike zone is too
Right,
small.
exactly.
So-
That's unfair.
Okay, no.
That's unfair.
Just a sec. I want to
Basketball's
come
10
to.
foot. That's
I want
unfair.
don't you shake your head at me like that. I'm going to Dr. Fernando. He's our technical advisor. I want to know the technical. What's your opinion, Dr. Fernando, on the height of the hoop or the ring or whatever you call it, and things like that? Yes.
Sorry, talk about the giant guy.
Yes. Yeah. We're still on the giant guy. Yeah.
Well-
Yeah.
Not Andre.
I don't
It's a
know.
technical thing, you know.
It's unfair.
It's unfair.
So they need to have a high shoes for everyone else to compensate this guy, and let's see that.
Okay.
Still,
So make everybody on the same height.
And steroids.
Yes.
Lots of steroids.
Barry Bonds.
Now I got
level.
nothing.
In
I mean,
the
that's-
NBA.
I agree with, but I think it's fine. I mean, it's one guy here, one there. I mean, I wish that was a problem before I have the concern. I don't give a crap, frankly.
in the NBA,
I don't care about
Let's
sports.
blame Taco Fall. Never mind.
in the NBA,
Or if I
height,
play,
height
yeah.
is not an automatic advantage. And
If you have
you
this-
know, George Morazan was 7'7". He was taller than Taco Fall. And George Morazan had a relatively uneventful career. Didn't do that great.
But he played professional
He
sports.
did, and he made millions of dollars.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Did he wear a red hat?
Give me a break, right? Like, how is this like bad? Like, oh, he had a terror, you know? He
No,
only
no,
did
it's not. It's
average
not
and da-da.
bad. It's not bad. I'm just saying that it's not an automatic, enormous advantage where you would be automatically better than everybody else.
Advantage over me.
Well,
I didn't
yeah.
play in the NBA.
Well, absolutely, but not when you're in the NBA.
You didn't eat your carrots, did you?
No.
The question.
Just because you're short, fat, and hairy and wear a red hat.
God, I am
you
so
shouldn't,
The question
you know, really.
was whether he should be allowed to
Naughty
play
boy.
basketball because he got so much height over everybody else. Whether that would give him unfair advantage. No, it gives him an advantage over in some situations, but he's not going to be Michael Jordan. He's not going to dominate the league or anything. He's going to be an average player, even though he's 7'6".
So do you think he's soft like the rest of the generation? Because think about Michael Jordan, right? He sucked at free throws until he shot 100 free throws a day
Yeah.
and practices free throw every single day, and he threw 100
Yeah, no,
of those.
No. It's not that. It's just that when you're that tall, you give up something else. Eye-hand coordination, dexterity. The signals have to travel longer to your extremities. You're just not as fast. You're not as capable
I
with the
feel
ball.
really bad for him. It's pretty unfair.
If you told me 1 year, $20 million, yeah, sold.
Yeah. Yeah, no shit, right? Okay, I'm only going to play 1 year.
Yeah.
It's totally unfair.
I'm 7'6". I only have a
Got a
lifespan.
shoe deal for
Or just,
for
just
1 year.
put this,
Oh, it's
this
terrible.
guy on the Harlem Globetrotters, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
And you have
to
I
duck
was
to go
thinking
through every
that,
door.
Shoot the
that
four-pointer,
he would-
so.
He would play for the Harlem Globetrotters.
He takes 3 steps and he's down
It's
the court.
fine.
I just
just
think
cherry pick.
it would be interesting to watch a guy. You know,
will.
he gets the ball in one hand, wanders down to the other end of the court, and pops it in, and all these other guys who are terribly serious about it,
Sweating,
you know.
jumping, and he
And
just
Coach
goes-
Self is having a conniption, you know, and he just goes plop, plop.
Without, yeah.
Are we, boys and girls, too water soft? The new Dune movie is coming out next year. The movie features a tribe called the Fremen, a desert people that have to strictly ration water. We, on the other hand, send more potable water down the drain bathing than when we drink. Speaking of drinking water, is the whole 8 glasses a day advice a bunch of baloney?
No, it's water, not baloney.
Water. Well, first of all, it's not baloney clearly
Does your
because it's
baloney
water.
have a first name?
So,
Jeez.
Dr. Orlando, let's start with you on this.
So, way back in the dark ages of when I was a boy, there was
years
not
ago.
a compunction to drink water. First of all, we got water out of the hose. That's how we hydrated ourselves back then. I know where you're going. Not cool. No.
Gather your thoughts.
I'm completely lost now because I'm trying not to make the same joke now.
You're doing
very well.
Do carry on.
There was just not this idea that you needed to drink a certain amount of water. And so, I'm curious, as I'm considering this question, do we have to drink water now because we eat so poorly? Or should we always have been drinking water? Or are we just oversaturated?
Good question.
One of the only things I learned from going to college, which isn't much, I was told by many professors that, and after doing a little study of my own on the topic, the 8 glasses of water thing is pretty bullshit. You just drink until you're hydrated. When you feel thirsty, drink water. If you're not thirsty anymore, perfect.
But in our society, people need rules. They need to be told you've got to drink this much because they'll panic.
Right.
If there's a drink until you're hydrated, and they'll say, I don't even know what hydrated means.
And the circumstances can change depending on who you are. If you're an athlete, I think more and more often you see college athletes, high school athletes carry around a big gallon jug of water. I don't think you need to, especially if you're in school at the moment and not doing the activity itself. I don't think you need a whole gallon of water. But if you are profusely sweating, profusely just running your ass off back and forth down the court, field, whatever, you should probably intake more water than you think you should, than your body tells you that you should. It doesn't matter what color your pee is, unless it's dark orange, then I think you might have a problem. But you just got to... Your brain...
This brings back to Trump.
Your
What
body
if your skin
Your
is
body
orange?
tells you. Your body basically tells you when it's time to drink water, and you just listen to your body and don't just go
If
crazy.
you're a common asshole, that's true. Okay? Now, if you do any types of sports or do any athletic competition, we know that if you put water in your system, you'll perform better. Because we are more water than not.
Yeah.
So I think that, yes, I think 8 glasses of water is a good idea for the common person. It does give them a box to live in, so they can say, okay, I drank 8 glasses of water through the day, I'm hydrated. Because we know when we're not hydrated, our brain doesn't function as well. Things just don't function. As human beings, we need to take care of our body better and not just go, well, I think I'm hydrated. I think it gives you an idea.
So then is that 8 glass recommendation an optimum, or is that a minimum?
So I think for the average person, that's 64 ounces, right? Somebody that does works out, right, on an average 5 to 6 days, thing like that.
Dream.
That would not be Americans.
That would be you're roughly supposed to get about a gallon of water a day if you work out extensively, right? So I think 64 ounces is a good amount of water just for the average human being to have to stay somewhat level, even keel. We also need water to, because we have such poor diets, to help break down the terrible carbohydrates that we put into our system. That helps break that down, helps our brain think better. So it is, but I don't think people are drinking enough water either. I really don't.
Never.
Nope. But then again,
They're drinking soda.
Yeah,
Or grape drink.
that's true. It can be.
Grape drink.
It can be very dangerous too. And there's been cases where marathon runners and athletes have died from drinking too much water, and the physiology of this death is actually horrific. It involves swelling of the brain and just it's a very painful death. So there's limits. Any kind of extreme is bad.
Is that water death from the fact that they're not taking in salt? Is it bad because it's just water?
It's just too much water. Too much. It's just too much water. It just turns into poison eventually if you drink too much of it.
So when it's sorry, I'm going to argue that one. When you're a marathon runner or an ultra runner, you have to put the salt in your body to help it absorb and use it. Whereas if you're just drinking the water, it's going to oversaturate everything and you're going to drown yourself. So there's the difference in that for those high level sports, and that's why you do that. And it leads to less cramping when you take salt and you do bananas. So if you're doing that, then you're going to less cramp. So the uneducated person is going to think I'm cramped, and so I need to drink more water, and then they drown themselves.
Okay, well, there's other people besides athletes and young people. There's us oldies. As you get older, you sort of tend to forget to drink water. You'll have tea. You might have a cup of coffee. It's really important for people who are elderly to get water into their brains. It really does help your brain not rot, basically. And I know that most older people don't want to use the loo too much, but so they stop drinking because they have to run off to the bathroom more often. That's one reason they stop drinking. It's important they do that anyway. It's important there.
So moving on, Are We Too Water Soft? The new June movie is coming out next year.
Again?
Well, I don't think
Wait
we
a
got
second.
to
Oh, sorry,
the
did I miss
meat of the
something?
question.
Did we hop in the time machine?
Yes.
I just wanted to see if anyone was paying attention. So we've been doing these podcasts now for a few years, and we've been very fortunate that over the years we have had sponsorship to a greater or lesser extent. And Ivo, who runs our sponsorship department and merchandising and all that sort of thing, I understand that tonight you have a very special thing you want to do about the sponsorship. Or have you forgotten who they are
I've been
now?
placed in a very tough situation by our advertising department. I'm just a spokesman for the advertising department.
Yes.
Because, as you know, I just want to say that
Oh my God, 8 pages.
Today we are sponsored by. Today, guys, you understand why it's so long. Today we are sponsored by no other than Dyson Industries.
Goodness.
So, those of you who have listened to the podcast understand that I personally have a long history with Dyson, and we have kind of philosophical problems, myself and Dyson,
You have
with each
proposed
other.
that their slogan should be Dyson sucks.
Well, I personally believe that Dyson is no more than a scam artist who puts pseudo-scientific names to his products and slaps a giant price tag on them and sells them with his British accent. For some reason, we trust the British accent.
Tell us what you really think, though.
But the fact that he wants to sponsor
bloody
us,
Bulgarians.
the fact that he
They're in
has
the place.
sponsored us, shows how open-minded this man is. Shows that he has goodwill towards us, and that's how people change their mind. So let's read whatever copy our advertising department has given me. Today we're sponsored by Dyson. Some inventors have dedicated their lives to changing the very trajectory of human progress. They harness electromagnetic induction like Faraday, or send sound waves across oceans like Alexander Graham Bell, or strive to propel mankind to other planets like Elon Musk. Not Sir James Dyson. No. He has dedicated his engineering genius to solving problems no one ever had. From very early age, he discovered he has only one gift, taking products that already exist and making them 5 to 10 times more expensive. In the 1970s, he invented the bow barrel, Yes, it's a wheelbarrow, but with a bow instead of that tried, boring, impossible to patent wheel. His unsavory, yet fortuitous fascination with bows continued, with the creation of the Dyson bow vacuums, a truly momentous achievement in human history. The giant bow rotates and delivers unprecedented maneuverability. This is truly the Lance Armstrong of vacuums. For mere $600, you can own not just any vacuum, but a bagless, dual-chamber, one-bowl wonder that uses Dyson cyclonic separation technology. Our vacuum is so powerful it will suction to oblivion not only tiny crumbs of fruitcake off of your carpet, but even microscopic particles of plutonium-357. I know what you're thinking. What kind of monster has tiny crumbs of fruitcake on their carpet? That is not important. The message here is suction power. This is truly the Kim Kardashian of vacuums. Queen Elizabeth herself is a proud Dyson owner. Here's her enthusiastic endorsement. Dyson vacuum! What a luminous example of British ingenuity! It sucked both Camilla and Charles right out of the palace and deposited them in a convenient vacuum-sealed pouch, which I now keep in a glass jar on my nightstand right next to Philip's shriveled scrotum.
Oh my God.
Sir Dyson, you're a true titan of industry. If you think $600 is too much for a vacuum, that means only one thing. You are capable of thinking. Now, suspend that pesky logic and check out our $200 toaster. It might be expensive, but guess what? It's transparent. You can actually watch as the heating element burns a piece of bread that is actually smarter than you. We must mention the Dyson Supersonic Hair Dryer, which costs $500 and features 23.75 karat gold coating applied by an artisan gilder.
Why?
Why? Who the fuck cares? Your hair is golden dry, isn't it, you asshole? But of course, the biggest, the crowning achievement of Dyson Industries is, you guessed it, the bladeless fan. A fan without blades? Dyson claims that this is the first fan that produces a steady stream of unchopped air. Are you kidding me? No more chopped air? I will never forget my first encounter with the barbaric vandalism of chopped air. It was a hot and humid night, the air stale, motionless and heavy, and as my desk fan spun its archaic pagan blades, I shrieked in horror and confusion. Repulsive waves of chopped air assaulted my senses with indiscriminate abrasion. You guys think I'm dramatic? You think this product is unnecessary? Think again. After all, it was Shakespeare himself who once wrote, Horatio, I have recoiled inside the sorrow's darkest lair. I have succumbed to desperation and ravenous despair, brought on to me by the demonic machinations of interrupted air. As you can see, this is an old problem, but no more, no more. Sir James Dyson himself has walked across the majestic hills of British invention to free us once and for all from the oppressive shackles of chopped air. Behold the bladeless fan. It is so revolutionary, Dyson had to call it oscillating bladeless air multiplier. If you buy it today, by the way, you will receive $100 discount.
By the way, if I receive $100 discount on my current desk fan, somebody will have to actually give me $92.50. Yes, the air multiplier costs $400, but you shouldn't care. It's a small price to pay for something you so desperately don't need. After all, nothing screams, "Look at me! I'm so rich, I'm stupid," like a Dyson product. It doesn't matter if it's just a bunch of over-engineered, overpriced pile of unchopped bullshit. Yes, Sir Dyson, you are a true titan of industry, and we are your biggest bladeless fans. In your honor, today's podcast is no longer titled Wednesday Night Undressed. It's Wednesday Night Unchopped. This is truly the John Wayne Bobbitt of podcasts. Thank you, Dyson, for sponsoring us.
Yes. Wednesday night unchopped. Yes. I want to thank the team tonight: Dr. Orlando, Dr. Josh, Dr. Coach, Count Evo, Dr. Kath, and of course Dr. Fernando, who actually joined in this time. We won't see him again now for quite a few months, but he will be there lurking always. If you've got a question for Dr. Fernando, he's always happy to help. Our technical team tonight comprised Eric. Eric, the producer, was here producing, of course, in only the way that he can. We want to thank Headquarters for giving us the questions that we played with. My name's Jeremy Taylor. You've been listening to another Wednesday Night Undressed. Very good.